No sound.
Okay, I think we're good to go. Hi, hi, hi. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, we're just about to go live. And this is the last Friday of the month, and it's PMO HotHouse time. And we're going to let in our studio audience right now and get going. Hello, hello, hello. It is the final Friday of the month. It's March the 27th. Thank you very much for joining us. It is PMO Hot House. Yes, you're in the right place. Let's go. So hopefully that's woken you up. Welcome, 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 everyone. Hope you're well, and hope that you've had a good month of PMOing, and doing great things for your organisation. Eileen's with us, John's with us. Hello, you both.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
Are you
Happy Friday.
indeed, indeed, Eileen? How are you?
I'm not too bad, and I'm going to say this because everybody's sick of hearing about it. It's my last one before I hit the big 6-0. So I'll be officially old by the time I come to the next session. So there we go.
Right,
Said
okay.
once.
You can park your Zimmer frame at the door. Are we even allowed
Absolutely.
to do that? I think that's probably something in the workplace that we're not allowed to do. But yes, it's the last one before Eileen's the big 6-0. Let's crack on. We've got quite a busy setup today. Hopefully everybody will enjoy what we've got lined up for you. Let's crack on then with our usual opening this time. We're back to John being here at the beginning of a session. Um,
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Indeed, read all about it. John, over to you. And what's this interesting one to get us going?
Oh, I've been through loads and loads of stuff. As usual, reading tons of stuff, some of it good, some of it bad. I found out, for example, that according to one report, 22% of people are still planning using Excel, but then it doesn't tell me whether that's good or bad or whether they loved it or hated it. So I kind of left that one off because Excel can be great if you're using it in a positive way for your organization. So there's a lot of sort of bits of information that don't really lead anywhere. But for those of you that have been watching the news recently, the real news, not just the PMO news, and are getting depressed about all the news from the Middle East and looking at the UK and thinking the economy is all going to be flat and everything's going to go a bit downhill and there'll be no jobs for anybody. I just wanted to show this one now. I've shown this once before when UK government first launched it, but they've done a significant update to it in March. This is the infrastructure projects pipeline for the UK. So this is basically the NIST view, basically their portfolio view going forwards. And it is a great document to look at if you want inspiration for your own portfolio views of projects in your organizations. And it's also good if you're doing projects that support UK government construction because you'll see where they're planning for the future and everything. So it's a great tool for multiple different dimensions. Use it and steal bits of it for your pipelines and dashboards, or look at it as an organization working with government to see how you fit into the future. Things that have changed that are worth clicking around and having a look at. They've now got more detail on where workers will be needed and how many they think they're going to need at various times. So they're predicting 750,000 builders and workers needed every year for the next 5 years. So if that's an industry you're in, then that's probably good news for you. Also calling out explicitly where they've got gaps in resource and skills, particularly geographically for the UK. That's they're identifying there's going to be high demand in the northwest over the next 4 years, and they see that as an area where they've got gaps and they need to make sure they get more people in. So quite an insightful view of the major projects for the UK over the next 5 years, and also helpful for some of you in your PMO perspectives to have a look at it for inspiration on how you could build similar views of your dashboards internally in your organizations to give people better visibility and drive effective decision making. Right, on to the next one. What we got? What we got? What we got? As usual, everyone, I'll share all these links in the chat after I've done talking, so you can go and whiz through these at your leisure. Right, product management, productivity. So we talk a lot about project manager productivity. We don't always take the time to articulate that, and we often struggle with it. We end up talking about our time, cost, quality measures of how well our projects are doing against those sort of three metrics, but we don't really go much deeper in a lot of PMOs. This is a great paper. I really enjoyed this one. They've clearly put a lot of thought into it, done quite a bit of research, and what they've ended up with here is proposing basically 4 types of productivities of signals, I guess we call them, I think they call them, which are the aggregate dimensions you're seeing on the right hand side there. They're calling out your sort of lagging dimension, which is the sort of things that have already happened, so your cost, your schedule, those kind of things. Your leading ones, which are engagement, measurements, ability to make decisions, collaboration, which are the ones that will tell you whether you're likely to be productive in the future, hopefully. You've got the hygiene things, so things that like rework costs and things like that, governance costs, and motivational ones, so things that the outputs, so things like engagement, collaboration and things which actually sort of increase productivity for you. So there's a load of things there. They've got the first order, which is the raw data you're seeing on the chart there for you, all the things that we want to look at as data. They've grouped those into themes and kind of rolled those up into those 4 levels there. So if you're tasked with tracking project productivity and what you're left with, you find yourselves too often just looking at milestone tracking, then this could be a good report for you to read to find out how they're proposing doing it, and actually then taking some of those ideas, especially those leading indicators. You can argue that you're doing it because it's backed by research, it's some decent academic research that's been done that you can then take to justify what you're doing and start surfacing some of these metrics and dimensions on your dashboard reports to help people understand what drives what drives your projects forwards, and the leading indicators that you can bring in, as well as the time, cost, quality things that you have, which tend to be looking backwards more often than not. What we got next? Flying through them to give you lots of time for our special guest today. Now this is frustrating. There are a lot of reports. I always sort of go, I need to include some AI things in here because there's a lot of talk about AI in the real world at the moment, and we're all trying to make sense of it all. There are a lot of reports out there that look like this, and apologies to anyone from APM here for calling them out specifically. This is not something that's exclusive to the Association for Project Management. There's a lot of these types of papers out, and reports out, and thinking posts out. But this one here, if you look at the headline here, Guarding Human Agency, What AI Means for Project Professionals, Clients and Institutions that Support Them, feels like it should be a great read and some really insightful stuff and some thought leadership there. And it really just boils down to them saying at the end, we're at a pivotal moment. We can brace for impact, or we can lead. It's like, oh, okay. And I'm lacking the clients and institutions that support them. Feels like it should. Got some feedback there. Apologies for that. Yeah, we're at a pivotal moment. We can brace for impact or lead, and that's kind of all it's telling me. There's a few thoughts and reflections in there, but it's not really giving me anything that I can actually grab hold of and lead with, which is a bit disappointing. So be aware of these. There's a lot of articles with nice catchy headlines that then end up being kind of fizzily vague things, which is frustrating. But the good news is I have not chosen to focus on that one for the news today. I have chosen to focus on the next one, which is entirely the opposite of that. This is actually specific, actionable, and very, very useful. This is some real research that was done, focusing on 38 senior managers in different organizations and looking at how AI is being used in decision making. And it has got a nice catchy title, Who's Steering Whom and in What Direction, but actually it's got some real data behind it, and just hopefully something for you all to think about here as well. So the key things out of this report: they're acknowledging that we're moving towards hybrid decision making with AI influence a lot of our steering decisions, where you've got human making decisions, but they also might be consulting with AI either explicitly or actually they might be doing it to help them pull decision papers together and things like that. Now, what they have looked at, where they've done their analysis, they've had humans making decisions. They've then got ChatGPT to make the same decisions. They've analysed what they've got from both sides and why they ended up there. And what they've pulled out is actually the areas where they see AI making better decisions. There is AI tends to be more logical and structured, less bias, less political behavior, so less sort of selfishness and those kind of things, focusing on themselves and self-interest. Tends to give more creative options, whereas people tend to be quite focused, and makes more what they've called objective decisions. Whereas humans, on the other hand, have a lot more contextual awareness, which is a significant factor that the AIs often don't have, because they're only as good as the information that you're feeding into them, and they don't benefit from the water cooler conversations, as we like to call them, or what we chatted about in the pub last night, or that quick 5-minute call that somebody's got, all the vibe in the office and the spidey sense things. They don't. Humans are better at understanding the politics, experience-based judgment, and they're a lot better at navigating ambiguous environments as well. Now, a few interesting things that I picked up. They mentioned this, which would be an interesting one, I think, to tease out, which was the better decisions rationally do not always result in better projects in reality. And that's a lot to do with the politics, the readiness for change. You can say logically this is the way to go, and AI will do that for you very well, but it doesn't always pick up on the cues in the environment and those kind of things, and what you can get through politically and what people will support and that kind of area. So there is something to reflect on there, that if you rely on AI to make your best rational decisions for you, that doesn't mean you're going to end up with better projects in reality. It doesn't mean the decisions are going to stick, people are going to embrace it, and everything along those lines. The contextual awareness is really, really important. The politics is important, and the ability to navigate ambiguity and things is important as well there. And the other one is the last one, which I picked up, which was the use of AI in decision making is actually lots of small, tiny steps. So, for example, a project manager might be writing an option paper. They've gone into exception. They're raising a change request. They've used AI just to help them think up the three options that they always need to give. And that's a tiny one, but that might roll up to a decision higher up, and it might go to a change board where there's actually some quite big decisions being made across the organization. And maybe they're using AI. And before you know it, you've got tiny little incremental uses of AI that all snowball up and drive decision making. So there's a call in here, not to say don't use AI, but it's to say actually let's make sure we're making the use of AI in decision making super explicit. So you've got that chain all the way through the decision, understanding, and have people calling out explicitly whether they used AI to support them in creating briefing paper, in decision making itself, all the way through the process, so people can look at it and better understand for themselves how that decision was reached, where AI has been used, where humans were used, and actually do we need to account for that bias? Is this going to be something that is rationally correct but actually may not have factored in the experience-based judgment as much as it should have done, or vice versa? So a few very, very interesting points there, well worth the read. And as always, I will share this one with you in the chat. Look, there's been loads of other stuff going on this month as well. In the US, there's been the PMO Uncon event in San Diego. That's been happening this week. I am waiting for some people to get back to the UK to tell me how that one went, and I'll probably share that on LinkedIn or something afterwards, but the timing just wasn't quite right to get that into today, but hopefully there'll be some insights out of that one. And of course, lots of events coming up next month as well, which I think leads me seamlessly and segueing quite naturally into the next slide. I hope, Lindsay, over to you.
Hello, super duper. And we just found out that the LinkedIn live feed's not happening at the moment, but you're all in the audience. And for people that are still watching on YouTube, because you can see you watching on YouTube, hello. So thank you very much, John. Links will be going in as to the chat here. But if you're watching it live, and just make sure that you've got a free account at House of PMO, and you'll be getting some stuff on that as we follow up. Just before. Quick advert break, and just to let you know, project forums just around the corner, lots of PMO stuff on this. This is a London based event happening on the 21st of April. It's free. We've got 2 seminar zones coming up, lots of good sessions, roundtable discussions going on. It is happening on the 21st of April. It's open all day, Business Design Centre in London. Anybody who's old enough and has been around the block will know that Project Challenge used to be a thing. Well,
Can I just say, Lindsay, that used to be the Queen's birthday as well, didn't it?
it's what, sorry?
It used to be the Queen's birthday as well, didn't it?
Birthday as well, and it's
And who else's birthday is it that day?
it's my birthday that day, and it's not featuring a 6 or a 0 anywhere. But also to let you know, if you can't make that, we are doing a little shindig at a good old social the evening before. Mr. McIntyre will be taking the evening, and it's the lovely Angelic pub in North London. So we're doing that the night before as well. So look, there's stuff going on all around my birthday. Also, just that AI, we've got a shoe on it in there. We had a really good session a couple of weeks ago now, which is a precursor for the new training course from PMO Learning at House of PMO, which is practical AI skills for the PMO. If you've not seen that yet, we'll put the links in there. But if you go and have a look at the website, you'll be able to see more details about that. And if you missed that session and you really want to have a look at what some of the use cases are, that is available in our free library, and we'll get you the links for that as well in the next segment. Also, conference, that's coming up at June. And just to let you know, we have PMO Learn on the first day, which is a big classroom. You're going to love that one because it's all really nicely interlinked with 4 sessions that are about everything around PMO and making sure that your PMO is the most effective. That's on the first day. Conference on the second day, the 18th. And just to let you know, we've just added on, well, the 3rd day. This is something that we did last year. Really popular, and we're lucky enough to have Laura back in the country, and she's going to be doing a 1-day course for Impact Engine Fundamentals. So anybody who knows Laura, listens to her podcast, gets her emails, this is a chance to be in the room. Great prices on this as well if you are already coming to the conference or if you're a member. But go and check it out if you're interested. That's it on the advert breaks. What is coming up next? It's making metrics count. Eileen, over to you.
Thank you very much. So we had a request to do something on metrics, and I was very conscious that we've already done something on metrics. So for those of you who aren't aware, on the next slide, I'll just show you we've got 2 things that are available in the learning library. We go to the next slide, Lindsay. I don't think I can control it. So we created these reports, and just to kind of give John a shout out as well. John was very much a part of the PMO KPI metrics and measures inside PMO report, where we talk about lots of different things that you can kind of actually measure. So if you're struggling to think about what to measure, both in terms of the purpose of your PMO, of the things that you report on, that's a really good kind of starting point for some of those conversations. And then Lindsay, in her usual kind of fantastic graphic skills, did the infographic you can see at the top there, which is an infographic of all of the types of metrics and measures. These were real examples of what people were actually kind of measuring in their PMOs. So we thought it was quite useful to share both of them. There's actually a whole section on metrics and measures in the library. So I thought, well, I can't just kind of rehash that again. So what can I do something different? So what I thought was really about kind of getting us to a point where we start looking at our metrics and measures and start challenging whether, you know, are the metrics that we do they actually matter? And are they actually kind of making a difference to what we're doing in our organization? Are they actually kind of adding to what we should be doing on a day-to-day basis? So I've created what we're going to call the house test for your PMO metrics. So these are 5 questions that will allow you to assess whether the metrics that you're creating are actually what you should have, and whether they're really adding any value to your organization. So I'm just going to go through them one at a time. I'm more than happy to inside the chat for you to continue and to kind of suggest metrics of yours that either do hit the criteria or don't hit the criteria, and then perhaps some of your colleagues on the course and some of your core House of PMO members can provide some additional hints and tips to help you move forward. So let's just have a quick look at these kind of 5 different challenges we had for our metrics, and also conscious of the thing that John's just put up there first. So let's first look at each then. So do these metrics actually help a decision? We've often talked about any kind of metric should drive a decision, should then actually kind of drive action. So this is the first part of that. What question is it helping the project? So it doesn't have to be senior executive. What question is it helping a project manager to make a decision on? Is it helping in terms of whether we're going to use a resource or not? Are we helping to decide on what task needs to come before another task? Are we helping a decision on which project should be there in the portfolio? So what, and it's a really interesting one as well in terms of helping a decision making, is actually getting to the point where you can point to which governance meeting, so whether that be a project board meeting, whether it be the team meeting, whether it be the investment meeting, what meeting and who in that meeting is accountable for making that decision, and actually kind of where does that link to? And one of the things that I've always tried to say for project managers is I'm going to be I'm not going to ask you to spend time and information providing me with any information unless I can tell you how that piece of information is actually going to be used. So that would be my first test. So anything, it actually helps somebody decide. A lot of it is just kind of a noise and actually kind of doesn't help towards that decision making. I think there's a really interesting piece where we start thinking about AI in terms of kind of how we get that information available to make decisions, and AI is going to use it. But I'm talking predominantly in the kind of the human sense now, in terms of actually being put into a meeting, being put into some conversations that drives a conversation. So quick question for the audience. I'm determined to have some interaction from you all, apart from you all wishing me happy birthday. Thank you very much. But what do you think is the most useful piece of information that you report on that helps make the most important decisions in your organization? If there's one piece of information is absolutely required, which one do you think that would be? Just curious as to kind of what people are going to put there in the chat. Oh, it's all gone quiet. Oh, what's the benefit? So actually kind of, now interesting, isn't it, about the benefits piece? There's a lot of organizations don't really kind of play on benefits, so really nice to know that that is a really important. What's the actual kind of point of doing this? Yes, is it actually kind of worth our time and effort to do that? So that's great. And the problem that was interesting I like the one, how much have we got left to spend? Yes, how much is left in the bucket? That becomes a really important. And what I'm interested in terms of how much is left to spend, what conversation that drives. Is it a case of where do we get more money from? Or what do we cut from scope? Or how do we balance off the difference between delivering more, the benefits we're going to get, and actually kind of going to find some more money? Yep. So it's good because you'll the chat that kind of comes up there hopefully provides you with some additional kind of thought process for your organization. So that's the first one in terms of helps make a decision. The second one is one that, again, I've talked about a few times. It should be outcome linked, not just output linked. It should actually demonstrate the difference or the impact some things have, rather than just demonstrate how busy somebody's been. Now, that's not just busy in terms of PMO perspective, but it could be busy in terms of what you're reporting on from a project. So what we're starting to be able to see is actually this stuff has happened and we can record that it's happened, but what we're trying to get to is what is it actually kind of telling us in terms of kind of how much impact has the project had in terms of what it's delivered, how much impact has the PMO had in doing what we've been doing over the last month. So I'm going back to the same question. What metric, we'll go around the PMO, what PMO metric demonstrates you've had the biggest impact in the month? If you had to report one thing about the difference your PMO is making, what would that be? And what I find really interesting around this kind of the O concept is about how often we report that. So I'm chatting to a few PMO managers as we're doing some coaching about, do you do like an end of year wrap up and say, you know, we've had a great year in the PMO, these are all of the things that are making the difference, which is a great thing to do, and not everybody does that. But actually, should we be doing something more often to say, actually, we're making a difference on a kind of a weekly or even to me as a minimum on a kind of monthly basis? What have we done that's really kind of moved some levers this month? So not many comments in there in terms of measuring the impact of your PMO. I'm just going to leave that hanging in the air. The third one then is understandable. So I have seen, and I often talk about it when I'm doing some course delivery, what we see is particularly around projects, not always about reporting against the PMO, but what we see is a dashboard that's full of hundreds of numbers, and actually trying to get your head round, you know, kind of what are we actually kind of trying to say. I've also seen some really interesting kind of hieroglyphics that are all very much kind of interlinked, but actually it becomes very difficult to understand. And we talk about the beauty of a picture because it shows 1,000 words. So even if you translate your numbers into a diagram, sometimes the actual kind of mechanism that you're actually kind of trying to use, if you use a napkin AI, which we all love, actually doesn't really help you understand what is the message that we're trying to give. The fourth one, sorry, I'm struggling with my letters today. The fourth one is S, which is really about making sure that actually that there's a sparks into action. So we've already said it helps with decision making, but actually somebody should do something based on what this metric is actually telling them. And a couple of weeks ago, I did a presentation on Monitor, and you know, it still surprised me. I was kind of really reflecting on Monitor, but this sparks into action says if we report on a number and we're truly monitoring it, yes, it actually isn't becoming just a reporting and a kind of a passive view. It becomes very much a proactive, because we know if we hit a particular number, whether that be up or down or a particular percentage, then actually we should have some defined action that kind of kicks into place. Or, you know, it kind of a resource might move, or something gets taken out, or something gets added, but there should be a specific action if we get to a particular point on a particular metric. And then the final one, and I'm conscious of the time, we want to leave some for our guests. The final one is it should be easy enough to maintain. I have and I tell the story. There was a guy who won the APM award for the Young Project Manager of the Year a few years back, and he had this fantastic dashboard, and it was about Belfast Airport, and it looked like a aeroplane dashboard. And he said the stakeholders absolutely loved it. And I thought, well, that's great. But he said it took him forever, every month, to update it. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that actually it should be easy maintained. We shouldn't have to kind of spend 20 hours every month trying to collect that information. So it should be there and pretty easy to collect. So very short and sweet this week, but I thought a useful acronym. Everybody likes an acronym, yes? So 5 things that we can test on all of our metrics. So just a quick pub quiz. How many of those 4 metrics that I've got there actually pass the house test? So just type the numbers 1 through 4 into the chat if you think they pass the house test. Any guesses? Nobody's guessing. Nobody's brave enough. Oh, 2. Yeah. 2 and 3. Yeah. None of them, says Stuart. Oh, you're very harsh, Stuart. So the interesting one is in the examples I've given, typically what we would say is 2 and 3 would pass the house test. 1 and 4 are really about talking about kind of how busy we actually are rather than kind of hit that kind of outcomes test. Interestingly, when I thought about 4, which is one of the things about it's kind of a numbers game, and it doesn't pass the O, which is outcome related to kind of whether we've made a difference to issue management. But interesting in terms of it may drive some actions because you may need to kind of get some more people signed up. So I think it's an interesting conversation. I'm not saying it's a perfect model, but I think it's a really interesting one to have a conversation with your team as you go another month end and produce a whole raft of additional metrics and measures to share out amongst your organisation.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on, shall we, to the next segment. And this is one of our favourite. It's Hot Seat, and lovely to have Judy in the hot seat today. Hi, Judy. How are you? You okay?
Hi there. Good, thank you.
No, hi. Thank you for joining us, and thank you very much for doing this because I feel like I kind of pounced on you the other day. But we met Judy when we were doing a career hour session recently about development plans, and there was a few things that she'd mentioned that I just thought it would be great to actually have a practitioner, professional in the seat, but it's doing the job and just like you. And yeah, so this is Judy. So Judy, tell us a little bit about you. Where do you work and what it is that you do?
So I work in the property and facilities team for a company called Evelyn Partners, who are a wealth management company, and they've got 21 offices across the UK. I'm part of quite a small project team. It consists of a head of projects, a senior project manager, and a project manager. And we manage all projects within the property and facilities department. So from process changes to equipment upgrades to larger projects where we are fitting out space and relocating teams of people. I joined here in July 23, and this is my second PMO role. And prior to this, I worked for BT on their Better Workplace programme, which was a huge £350 million programme. And I was part of a really large project team made up of internal and external project managers. Worked very closely with an experienced PMO manager who gave me a lot of coaching on the job training, and then also an external PMO team who were F&G at the time, Faithful and Gould, but now Atkins. So learned a huge amount there, did some PMO qualifications whilst I was there as well. But then after 3.5 years, the programme started to wind down and I decided it was time to look for my next challenge. So the PMO role at Evelyn Partners came up and it really appealed to me because it was working independently and setting up a PMO from scratch and then maintaining it. So it was small enough for me to be able to feel confident to go and work there and really test the skills that I'd learned at BT. Like I wouldn't break too many things.
Yeah.
And it's been great working there. I've got so much experience from there and then the confidence that I need when I'm ready to move on to my next role.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so when we were chatting about development plans, one of the things that made my ears prick up is that you were talking not just about development. We'll come on to that in a second, but one of the things that you mentioned was about you've got the PMO roadmap in place, and that's certainly something here at House of PMO we've talked a bit about. We've got sessions that we've done, and but actually to talk to somebody like yourself, can you tell us a little bit without giving away anything that you shouldn't be giving away? What's your being approach to the roadmap? What is it? What does it mean to you? And what kind of things have you been doing with it?
So when I first joined Evelyn Partners, as I said, there was no PMO, so it was starting from scratch, which could feel quite overwhelming. So I thought I need to break this down into smaller chunks and not try and over deliver because then I'm just going to fail. So I sat down with my line manager and we worked out what are the priorities here? What do I need to deliver in the first 12 months? And then I put that into a roadmap, which was just into PowerPoint. So the first slide was looking at the overarching for the year. It was a summary sort of table of each of the objectives that I was going to deliver. So from implementing risk and issue process, the cost management process, etc. And then the preceding slides were going into greater detail. So it gave a step-by-step process of how I was going to deliver each of those objectives with the timescales as well. And then it's something that I regularly reviewed with my line manager and also in the project teams to keep myself on track, and then also to show them the progress that I was making. So it really helped. It helped me not to try and do too much and for it not to feel too overwhelming by breaking it down in that way, and also making sure that it was agreed with the team so that our expectations were aligned with what I was going to deliver.
Yeah, I mean it's I think for a lot of people coming in when there's nothing in place at all, were you given any kind of direction about what was most important to the organization? Because obviously they've decided they need this function. Had you been given a kind of steer of, these are the things that we definitely need to have in place to help you to kind of formulate your roadmap?
Yes, definitely. So the reason why they decided to create the PMO role is because they'd recruited another project manager in because of the pipeline of work that was coming up. So they had a lot of lease end dates, and they knew that they were going to be having to move out of certain offices and then fit out other offices. So quite large projects for them. So they needed to make sure that they had a clear delivery model in place. So we were following the REBA stage gate model, that we had templated documents that the exec team became familiar with. So at the stage gates that they were seeing documents that they understood, it was easy for them to read. There were no surprises in there. The way in which we laid it out was really clear around these are the decisions that we need you to make today, providing with the information to make the decision, then finishing the call on, right, can you make the decision in the call, following it up with the right emails, making sure that's all saved down and recorded in a change control document so that we had all the right documents there if we needed to go through and do an audit of everything. And then also risks and issues was really important for them because they didn't have a clear process in place for that.
Yeah. What have you, you're so far down the line now. What's the next chunky thing that you think you're going to be tackling in terms of your plan around
So we had a PMO maturity assessment.
right.
It was Atkins that came in and did that for us. And so that's given me a lot to work on. So what the feedback was, it's great that you've got all these processes and procedures there, but you now need to really evidence that they're being used because we can see gaps. So I've started doing their project health checks. So we schedule those in with the project managers. We've agreed what it is we're going to check. And then I report back on that. And I can then identify where I need to do a bit more training, just where they need to be a bit more disciplined, particularly around change control. That's one that often they skip over. They don't record the changes properly or get the correct level of sign off.
Right. And was it a P3M3 assessment or something specifically for PMO?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
What, the P3?
Yeah, they
P3?
used that. Yeah, they used that model. Yeah.
Right. Did you get the score out of it? Did they do the whole thing?
I did get the score, and they said, don't be too disheartened by the score because it's unusual for,
Yeah.
a new PMO to get a very. So I think it was around a 2 that I got.
I mean, I think I've got it in my head that it's always 2.2. Whenever anybody
Yeah.
say in the comments, yeah, first timers get between 1 and 2. So I think it is right. That's interesting. So from your point of view, then now, because that's your PMO and that's your PMO roadmap. What about you then? Because I've singled you out. You're already a member at the House of PMO, so you're always doing, you're already doing great things there. I noticed you should also have done your training for the essentials around PMO managers. But you've made the link, haven't you, between your development plan, because you're really hands-on with it, aren't you, in terms of you've made a connection between your PMO roadmap and your plan. Can you give us just a summarization of what's important to you in terms of your own development?
Yeah, so at the start of the year, once the PMO map is signed off, I then look at where my development gaps are in order to deliver that plan. And then I create a plan which I share with my line manager. If there's any budget that's required to support any training, then that will get signed off by my director. And what's great is if we're linking it to that roadmap, they can see directly how it's connecting back to what I'm delivering for the business, the benefits that it's going to bring to the business. What I usually do is have 3 different types of development. So there'll be experience, exposure, and education. So it's not all just about external certification. So experience will be taking on additional responsibilities or working with different areas from within the business. Exposure, coaching, participating in these types of events, also going along to conferences. And then, of course, there's the education, the formal traditional learning experience.
No, absolutely. So what, I'm going to completely put you on the spot because I know we had a little chat about what we might chat about, but have you thought about, what you might want to do next? If you, had a bit of budget that came your way, what would you ideally really like to focus on, say, in the next 12 months? What would you like to see, this time next year, you look back and say, well, actually, I'm really happy that I did this thing. And have you got any thoughts, any ideas that you'd love to do?
I think it's about looking at ways that we can be more efficient. And I think that definitely AI has a lot to play in that. So we're quite restricted in what we can use within our organization because of GDPR issues. So really everything's locked down. And so we can use Copilot. So I'm doing lots of training around how we can use that within the projects team. And then also Power BI. So the wider team spends a lot of time pulling packs together for monthly meetings. And I'm thinking, how can I help the wider team in, just quickly producing these packs and not going into, it's like 2 weeks in advance, we'll get a message saying, start working on your packs. And then it's, a week in, checking that everybody's done what they need to do. And I'm sure that we can speed those things up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when we did the development plan session, which again, if you remember, we have career hours where we're talking about particular area of careers, and with Judy's session, we were talking about development plans. And it was interesting in that group, but a lot of the people that were in it seemed to be, wanting to do that hands-on kind of stuff around Power BI was certainly something that nearly everybody wanted to get better at, that kind of thing. But thank you so much, Judy, for coming on. She did a great job, didn't she, everybody? And what I'd love to do is, Judy, we'll get a conference ticket to you for London. Hopefully you can come and join us as a little thank you for giving up your time today. I know it's not easy when you're doing these kind of things for the first time. You did a brilliant job. Thank you. So we'll get a conference.
Thank you.
Because the conference should do education, exposure and experience for the whole day. Great way to go.
Yeah, you like
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. So we'll get that to you. And for anybody who's listening now and has listened to Judy do, really great 10 minutes, we've got sessions coming up in April and May that give you an opportunity, if you're interested, to be in the hot seat. There will be a conference ticket in it for you. There's a special thank you. So if anybody else wants to take the seats for 10 minutes, get in touch with me and we'll make that happen. But thanks very much, Judy. Great job. Round of applause for Judy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're coming to the last couple of minutes, just stuff that's coming up, lots of things coming up. So Eileen, you take back into the seat talking about Programme Office, which is really interesting because we've never actually had a session specifically talking about Programme Office. So Eileen will be doing that on the 9th of April. Eileen, quickly, what do you want on the 14th of April?
For those of you who are aware, we're busy doing a revamp and an update to the PMO service catalogue that was written by Stuart. So we've had a team, and there's a few on to Sarah and Zoe I can see. So call out to them. And what we've done is we're just about there for writing the kind of the revamp version. And what we're looking is for new people to come on board to review what we've written. So there'll be a set of instructions. We're just going to go through on the 14th what we've done and what we're hoping for the reviewers to do. So if you've not been involved to date, you can choose how many days, weeks or months you want to get involved with us. But we'll have some work for people to do to review that.
Okay, lovely. So there you go. Have a look, 14th of April. And on the 20th of April, you've just seen there that Judy's done her Essentials for PMO Managers. I didn't know that before this. So, here's a link that actually that next training course is coming up on the 20th of April. Obviously the conference, obviously Project Forum. So there's loads of stuff. Time for you to get out and about or to get into some of the virtual sessions that we're doing. These are all all open to everybody. You know, there may be costs associated with some of them. We've got a lot of social things coming up too. We're going to be in Edinburgh shortly. We are in Southampton shortly. We are at Swindon shortly. There's lots of stuff coming up. So, well, hopefully we'll see you. So, sun's just come out here in sunny Manchester. Hopefully have you a good rest of your day. Thank you, John. Thank you, Eileen. And take care, everybody, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone. See ya.
Whoosh! And there is the end of the session, end of the live stream.